So where do you start to train or teach your team to approach sales this way?
One thing we've seen a lot of companies do before they begin to put any sort of formal training processes into place, before they start looking at all of their systems and processes and start envisioning what things that they could mechanically fix to create a lower effort experience, we suggest you just start with at least a target group of frontline customer service reps. Start this as a pilot. Pull together some sort of average mix of frontline agents and say to them, for the next 30 days, what we'd like you to do is your regular job, but think about what you're doing that could potentially create a more effortless experience for your customers. Just allow them to experience this whole idea in their own everyday workflow and see what they come up with. See how just giving them this new and different goal of an effortless experience allows them to do their job differently and better than whatever it was that they thought the goal of their job was before. And I'll give you a couple of examples here. A lot of companies say the goal of a service interaction is at the end of that goal, at the end of the interaction, for the customer to say, I was very satisfied with the service I received. Well, there's nothing wrong with a customer who's satisfied, but if you're a frontline service rep and you're told the goal is that the customer will say they were satisfied with your service or very satisfied, what exactly are you supposed to do at any given moment to reach that goal? It's the right goal, but what am I supposed to do? Another metric that a lot of companies use is called NPS, Net Promoter Score, which is based on asking a customer afterward, how willing are you to recommend our company? And again, that's a great metric for understanding the overall loyalty of any one customer to a company throughout the lifetime of their experiences. But if you told a service rep, your goal is that customer should want to recommend our company at the end of the interaction, again, what am I supposed to do specifically to make that happen? But if you say your goal is to create the most low-effort experience as possible for that customer, both in the things you do and also in the words you use, our experience is that when you say that to frontline reps, they immediately, just based on that one suggestion, begin to do some things differently and begin to understand and identify the things that they've been doing all along that actually feel like high effort to customers and can begin to fix and change those things just from understanding that this is the correct goal. So we think that's a great way to get started. Involve your front line, ask them about the things that they think the company does that creates unnecessary effort for customers, and let that be a starting point around which you can then orchestrate different kinds of training and coaching, different kinds of metrics, and sort of a re-examination of the overall service experience.
So in the next chapter, the title of the chapter is To Get Control, You Have to Give Control.
Yeah.
And in there, you talk about this control quotient. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. The job of being a frontline customer service rep today is very different than it was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. And the reality is it's a much harder job. And it's harder for a couple of reasons. First of all, the average caller who has to call a company and discuss an issue live with the company is invariably calling about a more difficult issue today than they would have 5 years ago, because so many of the easier issues that used to all be handled by phone interactions are now being handled by internet self-service. Every company in the world has at least some kind of website. Some of them have tremendous functionality to allow customers to solve a wide variety of problems. But even the simplest allow for answering of questions, obtaining of balance information, common customer information. Solving easy problems has never been easier because it can almost all be done on the internet, which means if you have to call the company, it's invariably for a more complex issue. So that's one thing, the complexity of issues. Another thing is that customers have experienced both much better service, like Amazon or Zappos or other world-class service companies, and also customers have experienced a lot of hassles. They've experienced a lot of high-effort service. They've gotten the runaround from their cable company or their internet provider or other product companies that they've dealt with in the past, which means there's a higher degree of emotionality and a higher degree of customer frustration that's typically experienced by the average frontline agent. And so this whole idea of the control quotient is that the companies that do the best job of providing low-effort service enable and empower their frontline agents to take much greater control over customer issues. Instead of trying to follow a script or a playbook for everything or every problem and situation having a direct set of linear rules that you must always follow, frontline agents need to be given an opportunity to use a greater sense of judgment. They need to be able to understand the totality of a customer's issue. They need to be better at diagnosing customer issues. They need to be better at being able to connect with that customer, an individual human being who has their own personality, their own needs, their own experiences, their own emotions. So the whole idea of the control quotient is that the simple things that managers and leaders of customer service operations can do that give their frontline greater control. And one of the biggest things companies can do is to enable frontline reps to better learn and support each other. In addition to formalized training and coaching, the degree to which reps who work in the same operation can share and compare notes from each other, can learn from each other and share with each other, can use each other as sounding boards, can compare common experiences, can empathize with each other when they have particularly distressing or emotional contacts with customers. Those things really change the ability of that rep to take full ownership over a customer's issue, to be in charge, to be the tour guide who advocates on behalf of the customer and guides them through the resolution experience. And all of those things create a much more low-effort experience for the customer. But they can only be done by an enabled and empowered frontline agent. And that person has to be given more authority and more control. So that's why, again, to gain control over this more complex and demanding customer world, companies have to give more control to their frontline agents, but to support them in a way that is done not only through formalized company training and coaching, but also through a greater degree of peer support.